One of the brightest spots to come out of Golden State this season just got brighter. Last summer, we saw the tapes, and he was putting in the work. This season, expect him to take another leap to potentially solidify himself as the Warriors' second option. Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is Swish Culture. After taking a humongous leap last year, Jonathan Kuminga has vaulted himself into the Warriors' front line as one of the team's best players. Due to his limited playing time last season, averaging just 26 minutes a game, his impact was also limited. But that shouldn't downplay what the Warriors can expect from him coming into this season. From what we've seen, the league is morphing to cater to younger athletes who can score at an elite level. At minimum, he'll need 3 or 4 dynamic, young and talented players to compete in the grueling regular season on a nightly basis. The Boston Celtics have proven that this is what it takes to compete in the modern NBA. It wasn't just Boston, however, as you saw the OKC Thunder make one of the most unlikely regular season runs in NBA history on the back of a young guard in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, complemented by a bunch of rookies and second-year players. Derek Lively II, a rookie from last season, played a huge role in the Mavericks' success as well, further cementing the fact that teams need to involve their young players as much as possible in order to find postseason success. In the case of the Warriors, that starts with Jonathan Kuminga, and based on his off-season work ethic, it appears he understands this as well. So what are we seeing in these tapes, and what would the Warriors need to do to have their best chance of finding success in this upcoming season? Not to mention, Bleacher Report just unveiled their list of the most overrated players currently in the NBA. What does this have to do with Jonathan Kuminga? We'll discuss this more in depth, but before that, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Swish Culture for the most analytical and entertaining NBA content on the planet. Now get ready. You're about to get While everyone is talking about whether or not the Warriors should wait for Jonathan Kuminga or if they should send him to the Jazz in the most one-sided trade this side of the Atlantic, Jonathan Kuminga has been busy working on his game and showing some growth in his offensive abilities since the last time we've seen him play. This trade by Bleacher Report had the Warriors sending Kuminga along with Moody, Pods, and multiple first-round picks to the Jazz for Lauri Markkanen. While Markkanen is still a fairly young player, just 27 years old, and has the potential to be a strong second option, there are a few problems with that trade that I will point out. First, while Markkanen allows the Warriors to play 5 out as a floor-spacing 7-footer, he would not solve the Warriors' major issue, which is the need for a rim protector. Averaging a half block per game will leave the Warriors with the same issues they've had for the past 4 years, while still being one of the most expensive rosters. Markkanen is one of the better offensive players in the league and averages 23 and 8 on 40% shooting from distance. While his size would put him at the 5 on the roster, he's more of a 4 on the defensive end. That is, he'll have trouble guarding other bigs. He'll use his length to make it difficult, and he's also very switchable on that end in guarding 1 through 4. He's able to move his feet very well for a 7-footer, but his discipline could use some improvement as he gets caught leaving his feet more often than he should. So while he does in fact have the size, he's more likely suited to be a 4 than a 5. What this means is his presence could complicate things for the Warriors in terms of positioning. Ideally, you'd like to have him play next to Trace, which leaves Draymond Green out in no man's land. The primary reason for that is having him play next to Green would have Green playing the 5 defensively, and another year of this will lead to the same results as last year. While he did it in his prime, Draymond Green is just not well suited to guarding 5s anymore. This might lead the Warriors to do what they did with KD, however, and put him at the 3, playing alongside Dre and Trace. However, I'm not quite certain his skill set would lend well to that offensively. This would leave the Warriors with a bit of an offensive hole, although it might allow the team to run a lot of pick and pop or more motion offense. If JK was included in the trade, we'd be looking at Steph, Pods, Markkanen, Draymond, and Trace in the starting lineup, which has some weaknesses in perimeter defense and rim protection, but plenty of ball movement to fuel a motion offense, allowing guys to find open shooters and knock down shots. Closing might become an issue, however, as relying on Steph alone will cause teams to blitz and the Warriors will struggle without a strong closer, someone who can handle the ball and finish in isolation. This is why it's so important for the Warriors to keep Jonathan Kuminga. The 21-year-old took a third-year leap that had him being considered as one of the best young players in the league. Interestingly enough, Bleacher Report also recently pegged JK as the most overrated player in the NBA. So if this is your first time hearing this, on a list of 5 players that include Jonathan Isaacs of the Orlando Magic, Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets, Miles Bridges of the Hornets, Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets, Jonathan Kuminga ranks above all as the most overrated player in the league. Now forget arguing the metrics of how they even came up with this list. Let's take a look at how they made the determination to have Kuminga top everyone else. Kuminga top everyone else. Now, while Bleacher Report's Dan F. submits the caveat that this was just an attempt at having an honest conversation, no trolling involved, and that these are all good players, he does cite quite a bit of data for the 4 runners-up behind Kuminga. From Jalen Green's on and off switch between his pre- and post-All-Star performances to Jamal Murray's stated abysmal stats without the presence of Nikola Jokic. Even Jonathan Isaac's health issues that keep him essentially on minutes restriction were cited as reasons for him being on this list. Things were a little bit different when it got to JK's evaluation, however. Not one statistic, citation, verifiable fact, or other was listed as evidence for his appearance on this list. The most damning evidence against Kuminga? The Warriors' unwillingness to include him in trade talks for Lauri Markkanen. One of the main precursors to this piece by Dan F. is that the goal is to spotlight those who have outsized reputations or projections relative to what they've done on the court. This will be tackled from a national perspective rather than how singular franchises or fan bases are evaluating their own players. So we state that a franchise or fan base's opinion doesn't drive the narrative on a player's value. Yet here we are with no anecdotal evidence, ranking Jonathan Kuminga as the most overrated player based solely on the franchise's valuation, which itself isn't clear beyond that of trade talks. The Warriors franchise knows that it takes more than one piece to move the needle, and losing too many pieces negates the acquisition of certain trade targets. These pieces have to be complementary. The only other criticism listed here as well is that Jonathan Kuminga does not have a Mikal Bridges non-star aura, and they don't trust his jumper nor his ability to create a shot without shooters on the floor. So we're comparing 21-year-old JK to 27-year-old Mikal Bridges in terms of immediate value, ignoring Kuminga's projected value, and without citing percentages, critiquing his jump shot and his ability to create. For reference, Jonathan Kuminga in isolation gets to the line 21% of the time, ahead of players such as Ja Morant, James Harden, and even Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If JK is rivaling the top ISO scorers in percentage trips to the free throw line, it can easily be argued that the Warriors ought to utilize his ability even more so than it has been. Kuminga is ranked 7th in the league among players with more than one ISO possession per game, with over 21% frequency in trips to the line. Jimmy Butler, DeMar DeRozan, Giannis, Zion, Emmanuel Quickley, and Aaron Gordon, who ties with Kuminga in number of ISO possessions per game, are the only other players ahead. What this means is that Bleacher Report's take on the most overrated player in the NBA is to be taken with a metric ton of salt for consumption. Now, I don't think anyone in the pro-Kuminga camp has ever posited Jonathan Kuminga as a better player than Markkanen. As a matter of fact, the fan base is divided to a certain extent on whether the franchise should make the trade. It's always easier to state an opinion, of course, when you're not the one who has to face the repercussions for the decision, so it's understandable the Warriors aren't immediately trying to trade a player who's 6 years younger with such huge potential in the middle of a leap year for one that has put up good numbers on a bad team. While Markkanen has reached all-star status, this doesn't mean he'll play at that level on the Warriors. I've already discussed the problems the Warriors would face in trading Kuminga for Markkanen regarding having a closing scorer in their lineup. What problems do they face if they don't make the trade and decide to keep Kuminga? With a starting lineup that included Steph, Pods, Kuminga, Draymond, and Trace, the first obvious issue is the floor spacing that Dan referred to in his piece. JK is shooting 34% on threes for his career, which is just about the same as Kobe after his 3rd year. Now, with the emphasis on threes in the modern era, some might say, well, the game has changed and he needs to shoot even better. While that may be true, Kobe was a 2-guard shooting 2 percentage points below his peers. For a player like JK, this is less of a consequence as a small forward shooting 1 percentage point below his peers. Now, obviously, Kobe was an all-NBA defender. However, he didn't accomplish that until his 4th year. Kuminga's future as an all-star or all-NBA player hinges on his abilities on this end of the floor, and he without a doubt has all the tools to be a successful defender as well. The team is well aware of this fact and have made moves this offseason to hint at their desire to help JK develop at least in this direction. In comes Jerry Stackhouse, former Raptors 905 D-League coach and the champion head coach. The hiring of Jerry Stackhouse seeks to replace the vacuum left by Mike Brown in developing defensive schemes. However, as a former player who's played the same position and with shooting splits that weren't as good back then as Kuminga, Stackhouse could help JK improve as a team defender, which is primarily where he has issues. As an individual defender, at least for the most part, he's able to guard players 1 through 3 and even 4s. He tends to falter a bit in complex offensive schemes, which have resulted in criticisms of low IQ. With Stackhouse, this aspect of his and the team's should improve dramatically. The addition of Quinton Post as a stretch 5 does give the Warriors some extra leeway in utilizing Kuminga at the 3, as he's certainly able to draw double coverage. Kicking out to the open man, whether it be Post, Curry, or Pods, someone will be able to knock down the open look. To summarize, the defense wouldn't be that much different either way, but the Warriors with Kuminga have a player that could improve his defense and become a closer, as well as options to improve floor spacing in his stead. A closer isn't as easy to replace, so positionally, the Warriors would be better off keeping Kuminga than giving him up in a trade for Markkanen, as they have a higher ceiling with him, albeit with a lower floor as well. Markkanen alone won't bring the Warriors a championship if the team is losing a player like Jonathan Kuminga, so the Warriors are hedging their bets on the high upside rather than the hypothetically increased floor from trading him for Markkanen. Let me know if you think the Warriors' decision to keep JK out of trade talks for Markkanen is beneficial, or is this fool's gold? Post your thoughts on the Markkanen trade saga in the comments below. Before that though, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time, swish!